record on. So, so Sarah, welcome to Bwellhive Connect.
Thank you, Michelle.
And thank you for coming on this morning. I'm delighted that you could make it, and delighted that you're going to be sharing some hints and tips with us later. But to kick us off, Sarah, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and I suppose your business or your journey, how you kind of arrived into your practice?
Yes, absolutely, Michelle. And thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's wonderful to be here. Yeah, there's so many different ways I could begin this. There's so many different ways that I could express aspects of my journey. But I love circles. And I feel that my life has continuously been going in circles. And sometimes I would have judged myself around that as well. But I feel in a way that I'm going back to my origins, and that in a way is the key to my work as well, to bring people back to their original nature, the really core of themselves. That I love the feeling that health is never, it's not something we have to go and try and get. Yes. And trying to find ourselves isn't something that we have to try and do, because it's right under the nose. We're right here. So, and that is part of a huge journey that I've been on. And even the fact that I was born by the sea in Brighton is a very important piece for me. The waves have always been my teachers, and I go there nearly every day as much as I can to bring me back to that original nature. And there's other key things that I've noticed that have always been present for me in my journey, whether I've been working as a journalist at one time, in publishing at other times. I began my work as a therapist way back in the 90s when there wasn't too many of us around. So there's always been a circle for me. And
great that you've kind of found your way back, Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as I'm sure you can reflect in your own work as well, that it's always a journey back to ourselves. Yes. And into the very core of us, perhaps the more playful part of ourselves, perhaps that part of us that used to just enjoy daydreaming and blowing bubbles. And there's even something in that we can bring back to our here and now, to strengthen us, as you say, and to bring more vitality, more joy. So yes, I could certainly give you a potted history about my life, but in essence, it's about coming back to that joy and that spark that each one of us has as our birthright.
Yes, which is great. Yeah. And really, shall we say, helps us to be more joyful, as you mentioned. And with regards to the practice that you're in now, how did that come about? Was it something that you've done previously, or was it a recent, therapy that you thought, oh my God, I really have engaged with this? Or how did you get into the cranial sacral space?
Oh, thanks for asking that question, Michelle. Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, if I'm totally honest about it, I'm a kind of a person, and again, back to my original nature, that feels things out. I'm a little bit sort of animal in nature. I smell things out. I sense things out. As a child, I was told I was a daydreamer, but actually I think I was a heart feeler. That was my path. And I was often tutted off at school, which is an interesting one because we're going to be speaking about exams. And so in a way, if I trust that inner nature, that was always the way that I felt things out. And in the 90s, as I say, 1990, I began a first therapy training in something called polarity therapy, which was a combination of some nutritional work, some body work, some beautiful exercises, vitality exercises. We might even be doing one of those a bit later on.
Great, look forward to that.
Yeah, so that there's lots we could speak about with that. So, but that was in the 90s. Okay. And as I say, I think I was a little before my time. People weren't quite ready for this wave of introspection and heartfulness and mindfulness, that people weren't quite ready at the time. But it was only through my own experience, and this is again going through the way I learn things is through my body, through my heart, through my own experience. It was in the 90s I began to realize how much my own original imprints were impacting me day on day. And so when I had the chance then to come back to train, it was craniosacral that was the way I chose, because it offers that settling of the nervous system.
Okay.
And that seems to me to be the very key for us in terms of our health and wellness.
And of course, the nervous system has a huge impact with our mental health as it does, or gut health as it does our immunity. So really resonating with that as well, Sarah, that our nervous system really supports our mental health as well as our physical health. The nervous system really kind of plays on that, as with food, as I work with in food with people. The craniosacral that you work with, how does that look and feel for someone that doesn't know about it?
Yes, absolutely. And just before we dive into what it looks like, I was going to say, because there's such a resonance with the nutrition and all these different holistic ways, because it's been discovered, and there's a kind of background noise, isn't there? I'm not sure what to do about that. There's some kind of echo.
I can't hear you. It's fine.
Okay, that's good. It's just that the very set points of our system are actually created in utero. They've now discovered that, which is so exciting. Michel Audin is a great guy for this, and he's a doctor and obstetrician. And he discovered that actually, when I say the set point, whether we're someone who gets very agitated very quickly, or whether we're one of these easy flowing types that nothing would shake us, some of these things are established, those patterns are established very, very early on as we're just developing. So there's another kind of a feeling around that. It's actually not our fault, which is great liberation, actually, to say that, the fact that we're a bit compulsive every now and again, the fact that we can't sleep at night, the fact that we can't do this, and we've always got to do another thing when we're just doing something else, it's actually not our fault. And that in itself brings huge compassion and huge kindness, I feel, to the story. Yes, so to keep it practical, what do I actually offer, and what do I do, and what does the craniosacral, I know it's a very big word, craniosacral. So the cranium is here, and the sacrum is way on down in our pelvis. So there's an ebb and a flow of potency, of energy, of cerebral spinal fluid that continuously moves up and down the body. And there's so many cranial nerves up and around the head as well that communicate messages to the system all the time. So a session, I work online with people, which involves some consultation and tips and hints and practical suggestions of how to bring more calm into the day. And I also work one-on-one with people and in groups. And if it's one-on-one, we have the opportunity to do body work, which involves very gentle holding. So here's your body, and I might be very gently holding, palpating different areas to support the body to settle. A bit like I've got a lovely egg timer. Gorgeous egg timer over there. I'll bring it in a minute. But just that sense of having sand coming all the way down to the bottom of the body.
Okay. Sounds lovely. Sounds absolutely lovely. And I did have an experience of it when you first, I suppose, went through the practice, and it was lovely. It was very relaxing, I must say, actually, Sarah. It was very relaxing with regards to, grounding the body. You really felt as if your sacrum, as if it's like the bottom of your back or your bum, really, isn't it? That's really touching the ground. It's kind of helping you to ground yourself, isn't it? Which I find, I'm a big energy person myself, and I love when energy flows and energy has that continuous, current, hasn't it? Sometimes it does get stuck with the trials and tribulations and the challenges we have in our day. And at the moment, it can be exams for people, or it can be a challenge. A lot of people find themselves being very busy at the moment because of events opening up, and maybe they feel that they have to attend all of the events, or they have to attend, so busyness continues, and it gets busier even from last year, so because kids are back at school, or they're in the middle of the Leaving Cert and they're all going through that process. Moms and parents, as I am a parent, go through that process as well, of going through those exams. So how, would you think, you know, that practice would support people to feel a little bit calmer or
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'd love to offer a couple of little experiential pieces if we have time, Michelle, actually, because for me, you know, although I love chatting and I've done a lot of it in the past, I'm finding it's my body that makes the changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we could just speak for a moment, say about the exam piece, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have a girl in half an hour who's just about to do her, what you call theory test exam.
Okay.
So there's a part of me that's leaning on, she better get it. I really think she should get it. She should have got up earlier. She should have done more study. You know, why didn't she do more study? I told her to do more study. So I have that stuff going on as a parent.
Yeah.
And maybe teachers have similar dynamics going on with their pupils.
Yeah.
I might have a consideration about what does it show up about me if my child fails. And I can also obviously reflect on, is there a part of my exam story that is triggered by the fact that my children are going through exams right now? So there's all that territory that we can touch on. And what's most useful in the moment, I find, is to come back to my center. Because even as I'm speaking to you about my daughter, if you look at my body and I'm going on about, she should be doing this, or have you got your bag, la 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 la, I'm actually moving into her space.
Okay.
So I'm moving into, you told me you'd get up at 6 and now it's 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's all about something else. So I've actually, in that process, lost the relationship with me.
Okay.
So I'm completely lost. I'm not there at all. I'm just this sort of automaton that's shouting and nagging and, you know, playing the role of the mother nearly. You know?
Yeah.
So how is it for me to remember my so-called midline, which is a very important part of craniosacral? So we could just do maybe 2 minutes, just see. And this will be in the car as we're driving our dearly beloveds towards the exam hall that will be fraught with contraction, by the way. If you can take yourself back to the exam hall, one pen, one whatever it is, and you're just all absolutely contracted. Nobody's looking at each other. So there's this kind of feeling. So how can we help by having this kind of feeling? If we're the one bringing them to the space, wouldn't it be better if we were just open, if we were soft in body and mind and spirit, and we were connected with our pelvis? Because if we're going to the school like this, oh Jesus, he should have got up at 6, and oh dear, he didn't even do anything at all. It's all a load of rubbish. It's actually not. So how can we be the environment that they need to be the very best? Because if somebody's like this and trying to do an exam, they're not going to remember anything.
Yes.
Whereas they're saying, I believe in myself. I believe in me. I've got this. I can do this. So you can even feel by my body language that already, hopefully, you're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit kind of a bit more relaxed, Sarah.
Yes. So even if we're just doing this midline thing, so you of course we'll forget 1,000 times. So there's no kind of self-flagellation going on. So maybe see, could the turning of the key or whatever buttons you press to start the car be a little helpful thing? Check the mirror. All right, check the mirror. Okay, Sarah said sit upright. Sarah said, how is it if I can just remember to feel the support of the chair behind me? How is that? How is it to take a breath before I surge towards the school bus or surge towards the school gate or whatever it is we have to do? So I'm just going to close my eyes for a moment and just guide you very, very gently. And there's no push here at all. It's like, how is it possible, or what is possible in the way of my breath? Even just noticing how your breath is right now. And if it's anything like me from time to time, it'll be all screwed up somewhere up in your upper chest. That's part of being human. That's part of being crazy in the world we live in. So just like we spoke of earlier about the lovely little egg timer, how is it just, and this can happen in 30 seconds, this whole idea of allowing that sand to buzz and fizz and whirl around. And how is that in this moment? Just to allow that, or even to visualize this tumbling down the central channel of your spine to arrive in the holding bowl of your pelvis. It's like bringing your ship to a safe haven, a safe harbor. And that's the place that we can meet our pupils or our students or our children from. Yes, it's not, we don't need to be in their space. This is not the time to be in anyone's space, just a time to come back to us.
Lovely, Sarah. It reminds me of really like we can be as tight, can't we, when we're in someone's space?
Yes.
And that relaxation really kind of brings us back into a flow.
And we can be of no value to anybody if we're in that space.
Yeah.
So, you know, the classic one of the two circles in a relationship, you know, we can cross over every now and again, but we can't sort of totally lose ourselves or get lost. It's just respectful spaciousness around.
Yeah. That sense of space is wonderful, isn't it? Because when we have space, we have flow.
Yes, and it's offering, in a way, we are the reflection always for our children and for our pupils. They're looking to us all the time. You know, the classic one of we're like the air stewardess on the Aer Lingus flight. You know, they're looking to us. Is it okay? Is it safe? Am I okay? Am I good enough, Mom? Yes, you are. And that always makes me cry because we all need accurate reflection. We all need genuine, heartfelt reflection from people around us.
Yes, 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 yes. And it is so true, that reflection, when we get it, we feel not just elated, but our serotonin can have, which is our happy hormone, can really come into play, Sarah, can't it? You know what I mean? Yes. So it can make us feel inspired, it can make us feel motivated, and hence that goes to paper then when we feel motivated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that could be a tip that we could offer those going through exams.
Okay.
But, you know, perhaps reminding them, particularly if we've got very sensitive, beautiful children that are quite sensitive, we might say to them, okay, well, what resources you? That's a big buzzword. What does resource mean? You know, we can speak about what does grounding mean in a minute, but what does resourcing mean? Maybe it's a bit overused. But if we have a child that absolutely loves watching the light coming through the window, they could every now and again just watch that in the exam hall, not put their attention on the screwed up faces of their fellow students.
Yes.
They may just like to take a breath, that might settle them. Or it may be that they just need to go to the loo and splush their face with water, whatever it may be, that will settle them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just to squeeze their hands and to remember that, you know, you might have squeezed their hand in the morning. They might be a very tactile type of person.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to always find just placing my feet on the ground quite flat, you know, and just as you said, noticing your bum on the seat, noticing your back up against the chair, noticing, okay, I'm here, and then just taking those couple of breaths.
Yes. And that might work for you.
Yeah.
And I just, if I just love for a minute to speak about this word grounding, because I know we've touched in on it. It's just that brings out my rebellious nature. When someone says, oh, all we've got to do is ground, I feel like, oh, I don't want to ground. I want to kind of shout. I want to stretch. I want to be me. Don't, you know, to me, grounding, and it's not intended, of course, it feels like a bit like muzzling me. Oh, I've got to ground myself. Oh, I've got to do this terribly serious thing called grounding. Whereas, you know, if you've got an inner rebel on the inside, they might want to stretch, they might want to shout, they might want to sing. And it's quite an awkward thing if you feel that in an exam hall. But there is a way to feel that. Even in an exam space, you might say, God, this whole atmosphere with the sort of tick, tick, tick of the clock, it's just really a major wind up for some people.
Yeah.
And it's triggering, it's scary, it's, oh my God, there's not enough time. But even within that, you could encourage a student to have a really good stretch and say, okay, this isn't all of me. I'm doing this. I've got this. I can do this. And I can rage and shout when I'm out of here. But right now, I've got to put myself in this effing box, play the game, do the stuff.
Yeah.
But this is all of me. Because I think there's something quite kind of about having to sort of be in this space where everyone's not even connecting and they're not giving any eye contact, which I used to find very, very triggering, I have to say.
Yeah, and it can be, you know, as you said, that kind of constricting space, you know, where I find breath comes in hugely there, you know, that because when you breathe in, you're giving yourself space. And if everybody in the hall did that, well, then the energy would be a lot more less constricted and more, hey, let's just get on with this.
And even holding the chair, you know, so doing funny little things, but stretching up and saying, I can move, I'm not frozen.
Yes.
They haven't got me yet. They haven't got all of me. And I'm so frustrated, I'm going to do an amazing exam. But, you know, sometimes that can be a mobilization for people as well, because if you allow yourself like quicksand to get into that sink with a ditch, whereas that can be very kind of, I can't do anything. Whereas at the same time, you go, and I push down on my chair and I stretch back. You know, the system hasn't got me. You know,
so one of the things that's coming up, I suppose, for people is that they've kind of come through a number of exams. So they're not halfway through, but some of them are nearly coming to the halfway through, or they're nearly finishing this week. So the energy is quite low, Sarah. So how then, you know, can we best increase their energy through, because they're focusing on their studies at home, they're focusing on their studies, you know, in the morning, they might have an exam in the afternoon. How best then can, you know, even going for a driving test, or, you know, they could be working a lot and trying to study for a driving test as well, can have its own, you know, I suppose, responses to the body. So how then can we increase the energy to make us feel that we can do this, we can get through it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, when you're speaking actually about that, I'm getting an image that I would have felt certainly in exam times, this feeling like I'm hammering myself with a mallet more and more into a hole, and there's no choice. I've got to stay with this. And if I don't stay with this, I'm just not going to get it. So there's a head down and go, I've just got to push, push, push. And if the more I push, I'm going to exhaust myself, but I have to do it anyway. There's this kind of thing. Whereas the definitely has to be moments of expansion and blowout, if you like. And it doesn't have to take very long, and it's very individual for everybody. But I mean, as I say, I haven't grown up yet, so I allow myself to stamp, and I find that quite helpful. And I allow myself to growl, and I allow myself to you know, make a noise. And if you're one of these unfortunate people that think they're grown up and can't actually play anymore, I think that's the kind of a problem. Whereas if we can actually say, right, there's a raging tiger inside that is being completely stifled by this effing exam thing, right? I am not an exam. I am Sarah. I am Michelle. I'm a human being, and I'm just going through this. I'm like a tiger jumping through a hoop, and I have to go through this frigging hoop, but that hoop isn't me. I am the tiger, you know?
Exactly.
I don't know if you like that image. I'd rather like that one. But this idea that, you know, you can walk up and down, whether it's on the beach, whether it means you've got the choice of jumping in the sea and making sure you, let out the big sound, because that is amazing for the vagus nerve. The vagus needs the sound, it needs the song, it needs the shouting. So I'd even encourage that with our children. Like, you know, do you want to just sort of shout at me for a little while?
Yeah. That's why I suppose singing has a huge impact, you know. That letting it out, that connection with that inner gut, which of course corresponds with working and connecting with our serotonin, our happy hormone. And one of the, I suppose, from a nutritional point of view, I suppose definitely hydrating the body, really supporting the body with plenty of water. Definitely, if you're getting your 2 liters of water, you're going to be hydrated, and especially around before exam time, like any prep for any performance activity, you prepare in advance. You prepare through food, you prepare through hydrating your body to allow the body to work efficiently, and the nervous system needs just as much nutrition with regards to hydrating our cells. And this is very important, especially when we're doing something under performance, like you said, Sarah, when we're performing in any activity, in a game, or in an exam. The hydration is absolutely key. So make sure you have your water beforehand, make sure you have water in the exam, that you have plenty that's going to get you through. But also, when we look at nutrition, to nourish the cells as well is probably key. So, you know, working with good healthy fats is always a really good, because when we go into an exam, if you've been sugars quite a lot, unfortunately, what we do is we burn off the sugars first, and we deplete in our energy. Whereas if we have good healthy fats in our system, we then go to our glycogen stores. So again, making sure that you've got a good healthy, you know, either breakfast in the morning, you know, eggs are a great way to get those good healthy fats in. But also using, you know, things like oats, overnight oats, adding in, you know, flaxseed can be a great way, adding in your nut butters can be a great way, and really supporting your body with good nourishment. And again, looking at fruit, you know, our fruit and our vegetables are fiber. So making sure that you're getting plenty of fiber over the course of the day, I think as well, is a really important, because when we get stressed, we can get constricted, as you said, Sarah, and we can get constipated. And unfortunately, that's not a nice place when you're sitting in an exam and you've got a full belly and you've got you know, pain. So again, going back to what you said, is so important, that breath work, going back to the sitting in your chair, like you mentioned, sitting on your bum, like you mentioned, drinking your water and getting your fiber in, you know, that comes through oats, it can come through, you know, brown bread, it can come through brown pasta, and chicken is always a really good one with pesto around these times, and it's really good energy booster as well. So Sarah, you know, just coming back to, you know, your practice and how it unfolds with people's lives, and what kind of benefits do people come away with when they're working with someone like yourself?
I feel it's around joyfulness, it's around vitality, and it's around having some sense of stability, which is all about not being on such a roller coaster.
Okay.
And you're coming back to the very heart of ourselves. I mean, if there's time, is the time to do a quick little experiential thing?
Yeah, we've got about 15 minutes left. So if you want to work, yeah,
that would be wonderful, because this is a particular thing, and I just to explain it, because I think I'll explain it just very simply, because it really speaks to me. It's this idea that when our mind is out of harmony, hands up anyone, our kidneys become weak. And when our kidneys become weak, our hormone production, as you were speaking about, Michelle, there, that actually decreases. We have less energy, we have less chi or potency that arises in our body. And our entire organic body, basically, it thrives on this chi, on this vitality. And basically we become sick when we don't have enough vitality and chi. So that's very much about what craniosacral is about, is how can we stay well? How can we maintain and optimize the chi, the flow, the potency in our system? And it all starts up here.
Okay.
It all starts with the So how can we support our body and anchor ourselves through connection with our body? So I just wanted to offer a very simple practice which comes from ancient China. It's called Wu Ji, and it's called absolute quiet.
Okay, go for it, Sarah.
Yeah, and I know this might seem strange, but you can do this while driving. Obviously, you can do it on top of a mountain, but you might not get a chance to do that during the week. So we're going to begin by really centering ourselves. And the classic place is like a couple of fingers below the navel. And just begin by just bringing our attention and our awareness to that place. I'm actually putting my hands there. So if you want to join me by placing your hands just on your lower belly, that's great. And I'm going to close my eyes. Feel free to have your eyes open or closed, whatever's comfortable for you. Obviously, perhaps open if you're driving. So taking a deep breath in. And even when I say take a deep breath in, that some people don't even like breathing. So if that kind of is grating for you, don't worry about the breathing. I'm putting my attention partly on my belly and partly at the crown of my head. And if you can begin by visualizing, if this comes easy to you, the idea of a golden shower within your body. So the idea of having a gorgeous golden shower of light trickling down through your central channel, that midline that we were speaking about. Cleaning, refreshing, revitalizing that whole of the central channel. So if you've got some buzzy, busy stuff going on, when's Sarah going to finish? I've got to switch off soon. I've got to go somewhere else and 100 other things to do. You just put those all in a bag, in a busy bag, and imagine that busy bag just being cleansed and washed and drawn down the central channel of your spine. And you'll remember all of those things that are essential. And you'll be able to do all those things that are essential with much more elegance and expansive, heartfelt feeling. So just using your breath, if that helps you, coming down, allowing that golden light to float down the central channel of your spine. And now putting your attention on that place in your belly, just below your navel. And if it helps you to keep connection with your feet on the ground, do that as well. And see if you can imagine that your whole body is now at the very middle of an ocean, standing on the top of an ocean. Appreciating the expanse of that ocean in all directions around you. Take the energy and the potency of that ocean that surrounds us right now. Draw some of that energy into your body to resource you, strengthen you, calm you. And now, still with your attention on your lower belly, bring yourself to another location, perhaps to the center of a gorgeous forest. Perhaps the air has changed, the quality of your breath may change as well. Perhaps there are different sounds that are coming through. Light coming through. How is that for you right now, to be around those rooted trees? The elegance of those rooted trees. Raising up into the sky, deeply connected through the earth. Follow them if you're feeling a little bit out of it, if you're feeling a little bit discombobulated, Michelle's lovely word. Travel down through those tree trunks, down to the very depth of those roots, gathering the essence of that back into your body if that feels like what you need. Bringing that down to your pelvis, bringing that down to your lower part of your body, restoring, reviving. And now just flicking the switch to another place, take yourself to the very top of a mountain. Gorgeous view, gorgeous expanse. Just notice the expansiveness of all of these images in your body. How they anchor you but expand you at the same time. That gorgeous expanse, all those fields before you. You're nearly up with the birds in the sky. You are this mountain. And just feeling the strength of that rising up from the base of your body, filling, completing you. So we can just complete right now, but it's just by completing, what we're going to do is have a lovely stretch. There's not a perfect way of doing this, but I'm stretching my hands above my head. And just in your own unique way, you can have a sense of bringing, harvesting, gathering, drawing all that you would like towards you right now. This can be a wonderful thing to do before exams, just to even stretch up in the loo or whatever you have to do, stretch up and say, right, I bring that to me. I bring the strength. I bring my reserves. I bring my quietness. I bring this back to me. And you can do this a few times. See if it feels quite powerful. You can do it with a fist. If you're feeling really a bit out to lunch and all over the place, you might bring a fist towards you and say, yes, I choose me and I choose to be powerful. I choose to be able to complete this exam and to be whole and alive and joyful. And I'm slowly just opening my eyes, coming back there.
Muted. Okay, I muted. So that was lovely. It was just nice to quieten the mind, and lovely to just fill your cup up. That's what I actually resonate.
See how even this movement can really help as well.
Yes.
This movement of
bringing it
bring
in.
what I want towards me, you know, absolutely. Yes. We are in control, because sometimes when you go into an exam and suddenly there's feeling, oh, everything's gone, and oh, all these people are stressed, and I'm getting no connection from anyone here, and I'm absolutely lost. No, I'm not. I'm right here. I bring myself back to me. Nobody's looking at me, because we look for that reflection in others, and nobody's smiling. Nobody's giving me that reflection. I'm feeling lost. But this is why it's so important for us to know ourselves. And I now know on the journey that exams used to throw me for 6. I knew everything, but I couldn't do exams. I felt so lost in that environment.
And it can disrupt our thinking and our knowledge that we so, you know, work hard to do with regards to, you know, learning it or reading it, or, you know, trying to understand it and really absorb it. And then, as you said, when you go into an exam situation, bringing, that's a lovely tool, Sarah.
And it might be something really simple, like a student may need to go in and they remember that, you know, pink is their color, or yellow, and is it possible to have a yellow pen, and say, I remember me, I remember who I am, that I'm not this exam. Remembering this circle with the tiger, I'm that tiger that jumps through fire. You know, that's who I am.
That's real energy burst there. Absolutely energy burst. So we're coming to the end there now, Sarah. So and thank you so much for those wonderful hints and tips with regards to kind of in that exam space, and really supporting the body and mind to reconnect and bring us back to, as you said, be in a little bit more control and influence how we can support ourselves to be better in these situations. To be better, to be our best in these situations, to bring out the best version of ourselves.
And just to finish, really, it's even just to give ourselves a hold that can really help, because if we're feeling that sway and that feeling of being lost, even just that simple thing of holding our bodies,
just kind of giving ourselves a little hug.
You know,
and again, it is sometimes, isn't it? It's about that touch, isn't it? And really feeling that. So Sarah, kind of, where are you at the moment with, you know, the practice, and, you know, would you like to, you know, mention anything here where people can get in contact with you, or how do they find you?
Yes, well, I'm on all the usual channels, not as present as I could be perhaps, but you're very welcome to call me, and I always love to have a chat with people, so there's no obligation. Give me a call and see whether the kind of way that I work would suit for you. And I work with all groups, all stages and all ages. even those that aren't even born. So
and is that Sarah Devine Craniosacral Cork, West Cork, or what is the practice?
It's you'll find me Sarah Devine craniosacral.com.
.com.
You can message me through the website or through Instagram.
Okay, so so please do, if you are resonated with anything that Sarah has worked on today, or you've resonated with something that might be, you know, in your sphere or in your space, and you'd like to maybe reach out to Sarah, you know, do connect with her, and I'm sure put up a message here as well, and we'd be happy to get back to you as well, no problem. And again, if there's any questions that you might have come up with, or that you might, I will have a look at the questions and answer them accordingly. I will be putting up a recording of this also, and we have a recording, so which is great. So I think without further ado, Sarah, thank you so much for joining Bwellhive Connect and Thrive. It brings so many awareness to people that there are other therapists out there, that there are other, you know, people that work in different spaces, because it's never one tool to bring us back to our health. There's always a multifunctional tools, I think, and one will suit one person, another one will suit another. And then again, when we work with nutrition, it can be, you know, a tool in itself, but other factors. I love mindfulness as well, and I love, you know, that cranial sacral is really that nervous system, and really creating that space, which is great. So there's energy, I suppose, is something that I'm always drawn to, but without, I suppose,
kind of important parts of the jigsaw, aren't they? So
absolutely, yeah, because we're made up of energy, aren't we?
Yes.
Completely, you know, we're made up of energy. We get it from our plants, you know, we get it from, you know, everything that's around us. Our cell function itself is made up of energy. So only to be able to use it in a way that where we flow within, you know, within a nice current, as opposed to feeling stuck or feeling that we're constricted with our nervous system. So again, going back to a few hints and tips that Sarah had mentioned, and also, you know, you can also
watch that feeling of compression. That's the last thing I'd like to say, is that comes in so often, and then that is the sign. Watch speeding up. When we start speeding up, that's a definite sign that we're going off into and the other one is compression. If we're feeling tight, we're feeling we haven't got any time, that's usually a sign that, okay, I'm getting into a pattern here.
Okay,
how can I make a change?
How can I make a change? And I think, yes, you said it there, Sarah. If there was one thing that anyone listening here today could do, what's the one thing that they could move or do to move them forward?
I think even that you said it in the word move. If we find ourselves stuck, held tight, frustrated, see what moving does. Or even just to do that gesture, say, oh, I'm feeling, I think I need to be, you know, just remember that we are animals, essentially. And that often we get stuck and tight, and we need to move, we need to growl. Yes. So, and stamp.
And stamp.
And there's no rules. Nobody said I couldn't stamp.
Yeah, exactly. But I love that movement anyway. So thank you so much for coming on today. We really loved having your energy, having your, you know, your hints and tips, and sharing them with those on the Bwellhive page and further afield. And I hope if anyone is listening, do give us a like, or give us please comment, or if you've got a question, please, you know, DM either myself or Sarah. We'd be happy to get back to you. Or if you have a question, just put it in the comment box below, and again, we'd be delighted to get back to you. So have a great Wednesday.
We love the questions.
Yeah, we love the questions. Have a great rest of day, and thank you for joining us. So take care, and
all the best.
All the best from Be Well, Connect and Thrive.
Thank you.